All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread Podcast. I'm Eli.
And Ben, we're back with our 94th episode, if you can freaking believe it.
It's crazy.
Eli's back from SDCC. I got big news. You got big news. We're going to Grendel. Grendel's got big news.
Oof.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I am back from San Diego Comic-Con. The gift that keeps on giving. The one thing that I got from San Diego that I'll never forget. COVID-19.
Oh, no.
But yeah, that sucked. But other than that, it was an amazing experience. It was great working with Greg Horn. My dude Manus was there. He's working with us too. Greg gave us like a little portion of his table for Cosmic Lion Productions. I sold a bunch of Wizards and mini comics, and it was really cool because people came right to my table. They like knew what they want. They came right to it. They're like, "Oh, Wizard, dude, I want one." They're like, "Oh, I've heard. I know this. People came with like Cartoonist Kayfabe shirts and stuff and talked to me. And so when the people came to my table, they knew what they wanted. They knew what they were there for. They knew what it was. That felt really good.
Wow.
So did that. I also scored this. Shout out to dude Fred Warner, who I saw there again, who bought some amazing pages. But I did score this page from Behold the Devil, which is an amazing scene that we all remember, where he gets the gem and draws the circle. He needs blood.
This is right before all is explained.
Right, and the little thing comes out, and he's like, that little imp.
Most importantly, you got one of those nice value scales from marker to Prismacolor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My favorite,
and it's really cool to see.
Oh man! Oh my god! I love it.
So cool. So shout outs to that. Shout outs to SDCC. The quick Grendel news that I would say is that I saw on the page that you can go on Netflix, type in Grendel, and there's a super generic title page. It says Grendel, and you can click to remind you when it comes out. Not that the fan base won't know, but you can still go on Netflix, type in Grendel, something will come up.
I'm going in so totally open-minded. I can't believe that this is happening.
It's insane.
I've been my whole life not expecting it not to happen, but I was, all these things are such an uphill battle to get your dream adaptation off the ground.
Yeah.
Grendel is like so uniquely positioned to be adapted and melded that when I saw that logo, I said, if this is what it is, I'm all on board. I love it.
I'm on board.
I'm super psyched for however they're gonna play this.
Hey, I'll say I saw an early screener of Sandman last night. I mean, when this comes out, you'll probably have all seen Sandman anyway, but it was amazing. They straight up adapted the first couple books. Neil Gaiman is the showrunner. So that's like an even more, I mean, that says even more about the show, where like he wrote the pilot with David S. Goyer and this other dude. And so, I mean, it's being done right. So shout out to Sandman.
It's great that Matt gets to be right on those heels.
Yeah,
and
really, it's good to
really familiar place and all that. Mm-hmm. When I saw the Sandman trailers, it looks like there's all the shots look like they're putting in touches to make it look like the drawings, which is delightful.
Yeah, Charles Dance in the first episode as well.
Oh yeah.
The dance, the big dance.
The big dance. That's cool.
What have you been up to, Ben? Yeah, you got some.
I have some big news, and that's that I am taking a faculty position at the school I teach at, the New York Film Academy, starting in September. And so it's a little bittersweet because I've been cartooning while being a teaching artist for all this time, but most of my energy has been on being a cartoonist. I will always be a cartoonist. Yes. But I'd be a fool not to take this career opportunity.
So it's going to be taking up a lot more of your time, and you're going to have
it's a full-time position. So I'm in a spot where I'm starting to talk to people about like subcontracting the pages that I had sort of lined up for me to do. My clients are happy to talk about doing that. So that's
cool.
That's what I'm doing, and can't wait to Grendel. Let's do this before my baby wakes up.
baby. Woo!
Two in the box, ready to go. Maybe fast, maybe slow. Yeah. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, we are back. Thanks again to Bandits and Laserdisc for that great theme song, as always.
We're doing Grendel Wardchild issue 2, the second issue of Dark Horse. Look at that Bisley cover. We
Another
love
killer
Bisley.
Bisley cover. Oh my god.
Yeah.
They're so
No,
striking. And I mean, they probably really help you on the shelf. You know, when someone sees that book,
Yeah.
there's an audience that's just going to buy it for the Bisley cover and then look inside and be like, oh, this is interesting. You know, this isn't Bisley, but it's still like very cool.
The more I read this book, the more time I spend thinking about people who it's their favorite and first Grendel book.
Mhm.
And also what a different experience it is reading it in sequence versus how accessible it is on its own.
Yeah.
But how much richer it becomes if the rest of the lore comes along with it. But if not, it's no wonder that people love this book. It's
Right.
like a formulated to be awesome.
There's so much subtext, like for us or for the person who has been following along the whole time. But again, there's so much action and fun and like monsters. It's amazing. You want to catch people up? Do we need to do that or no?
The Grendel Prime Paladin and the heir Jupiter Assante are on the run, lone wolf and cub style.
That's right.
While Jupiter's stepmother, Laurel Kennedy, the regent, Emperor of Earth, the Regent Grendel Khan, I guess,
Yeah.
is liaising with her man Heath. Heath does he's her right and left hand man, and she's having trouble with her daughter Crystal, and that's all the subplots you need right now. That's it. That's the A, B, and C of it.
Absolutely. And we start off right here, immediately action with a shotgun blast to the back of Prime, who's, you know, we got the great Bernieisms here, as always, the great Bernie stuff, the splatters, the clouds, the stark contrast between these airbrushed maybe clouds and the blue background.
I really like the way he handles like the kind of the plane brake on the cab. It looks like a certain Naboo cruiser or what have you, or like the Blackbird, where it kind of comes out, pinches to a point,
right?
Even in profile, looking great.
I read this originally on my iPad, and I'm now just looking at the comic. It's so different with these like crisp colors that are on the iPad and the crispness versus like the Bernie stuff and the grittiness that it provides. And even as how bright and flashy as that it is on the iPad and the like digital colors or whatever the recoloring that they did, I just like Bernie's grittiness more.
Is it more of just like a tweak in the delivery, or is it?
It is. Really... It's like, yeah, it's just like a little bit just crisper colors, I think. Maybe it was just because I was on like a backlit screen or whatever, but
sure.
I just still like it here in the floppy.
One of the things that Bernie gets into here is using, I've turned the page, is using solid color backgrounds and then building.
Let's just touch on that. We finally get the notation of, you kept saying Bernie's got like a female, it has an assistant, Catherine Delaney is her.
Oh, she's on. He's
notated, yeah.
Oh, forgive me, I don't have I'm in the trade.
He's in his trade.
I'm in my trade.
Yeah, the next page, geez, yeah, a lot of Bernieisms with this throwing the throwing star.
Yeah, red, green. That kind of thing is going to be used a lot. It's pretty direct. I think it works really well.
It's interesting too how over the course of time the Paladin grows in heft. I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How like we feel like maybe he's gotten like these upgrades. You know, even like a new body.
Oh, interesting. Like I didn't even think about that. Yeah, in this last panel, he looks like Hunter.
He looks like Hunter. Yeah, he's got
That's
like the
crazy.
build of Hunter. Yeah. Whereas in the future, and especially in like the new Matt book,
Yeah, he's
honestly,
enormous.
he's like fucking
Yeah.
a tank.
Wait, I forgot a rhythm. It's red, red with Bernieisms, red, green, little red on the inside as he pushes the panel.
Mm-hmm.
I always, and I think that in these first few issues, he continuously closes Jupiter in that cab, and all I could think of is it's like it's a good thing that like he's not
A little bit higher, yeah,
a
taller.
little bit higher. Yeah.
And I mean, it is like, I mean, they took this directly for Baby Yoda because he does the same thing in his like little carrier.
Oh my
case.
god, it's the same thing as Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
That's
they
so
totally
funny.
took it. So on the next page 3, he comes in. He's, you know, it's like a roving Grendel clan on these hover bikes. You know, it's so cool. They've got these like future hover bikes with these skulls attached to the front, like motorcycles or horses or something like that. It's like just the great past future dichotomy that this book kind of excels at.
Yeah, they offer him his bike or the kid for a few hours,
Gross.
and he refuses,
Disgusting.
and then we cut back to the Sun House.
Exactly, yeah. And again, we talk about, you know, comic making. They do this almost every time they cut back to Laurel. It's the mid page.
Mid page, yeah.
Yeah. To intentionally interrupt the scene.
And it works so well, and it goes against every instinct that I have in it.
I agree.
It's just like example after example of how to make it work really well.
Right. And again, always forging forward with these different things. So they're trying to figure out where he is. They can't find him. They're trying to like guess where he's gonna be. They think he's gonna be in Nolans, right?
Yeah,
But,
they're having the world's most boring conversation trying to rescue her stepson. And the most interesting thing is that the mountains brought to you by Funky Town.
Those are Funky Town Mountains. Yeah, I like
Funky
it. No
Town
holding
Mountains.
lines at all.
They look. I mean, it looks like straight pander stuff.
Yeah.
In this one,
I wonder what the
Looks great.
pencils looked like for that panel. Was it only this door?
yeah.
Was it
Well-
all left up to Bernie and Catherine?
If I had one like wish for the colors, it would be that there would be more stuff without holding lines. Every time that they don't use holding lines in this book, it sings really, really nicely.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it relies very heavily on that heavy line.
I thought these
Okay.
pages were interesting too because the way they do the shading on her face and stuff like that, I was wondering, because reading it in the digital, I was like, man, there must be something different done, because the way these presented, it seems like I didn't think they did the shading right, but it's brought the same way. It's an interesting thing that he does on her face, panel 1. I don't know. I don't want to say it feels like unfinished or something, but I don't know. It seems like it implies like a deeper shading.
Maybe referenced.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
true. I wonder who they're using.
I don't know. Well, it would be Pat, I guess. So anyway, Laurel takes the call that Crystal is trying to get on the phone with Laurel,
Oh, yeah.
and Laurel hangs up on her.
Right. A little foreshadowing for a conversation later on that has some good cartooning going on. And then we cut right back to this like, man, this circle, this rodeo roundup where these cowboys are are circling Prime and Jupiter in their bike. And you know, I love Prime's demeanor. He just, nothing phases him. I mean, why would it? He knows he's gonna just rip him down.
Right. He knows that he houses a power greater than men.
Right. But they don't know. And so it's just like they're doing
that.
all this bravado, pumping their chests out, showing their tail feathers.
Yeah, again, you can see the bottom tier, the blue, red alternating.
As a theory teacher, how do you feel the like hot colors versus cool colors? I mean, is that what it feels like it is to show like the different characters, or what do you think? What are they implying?
The red works good for violence.
Yeah, true.
I think that when Bernie's making these choices, that it's mostly about like making associations, and building rhythms, like making associations with characters like Prime is blue.
Prime is blue, kind of like cool
Yeah.
because he's like his demeanor is cool. He's chill.
I guess so. I don't know. It's honestly not my favorite. Like when you compare the Bernie's work in panel 1 on this page with the brushstrokes and the lots of different tones and stuff to kind of like how flat it becomes in the bottom tier. It's I just wish that Bernie had brought a little bit more like tactile
I get you.
to
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Well,
It's an
because
inter- No, it's an interesting choice. It's just like it's very simple compared to like all the wet on wet that he was doing in the last book and all the other like
and
all
the
the
like, mood he was implying with the
Yeah.
finally sung stuff.
not there's not a lot of mood
Yeah.
in much of this. But when he does hit it, it's excellent. Also, the book won its Eisner Award. So who cares what I have to
What are
say
we
about
talking
it?
about?
Yeah, like it doesn't matter.
All right. So on the next page, I mean, the action begins. I mean, this thing again, I said last week that this stuff really plays cinematically. You really are able to, you know, that mind movie that great comics give you, you're really able to fill in all the action between each one of these panels. You know, he kicks the one dude off, he grabs the chain, flings the guy off, he's coming at him, he just lightsabers his, you know,
It's
from the
whole body
bottom of the
apart,
jaw
yeah.
to the shoulder, you know. I don't know if people watch The Boys, but you know, it gives you that full like The Boys, like violent slicing up. I wonder if the show is gonna give us that level of violence, like chopping down. I mean, it's
interesting.
almost gotta when you're playing with the fork like that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't see why they would.
I don't see why. They would.
On page 7, the panels 2 through 4.
Mhm.
Some of my absolute favorite in the whole series. Panel 3 is him aiming the gun, and
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, panel 4. Just like the entire team working together really, really nicely. And Bernie and Matt are always in concert on how to do the little highlights and the little touches on this all black figure
Right.
to make it. It's there's like the devil's in the details, my friends. But there's just like very, very small stuff going on to render him very solidly.
Right.
Love
It's
it.
such an interesting aspect of the character, especially when you're looking to get like, you know, a commission of Grendel or something like that. We've been seeing a lot of them online, I feel like recently. It's tough to capture a character who's all black, and there's a, you know, different ways to really manage it. But
Yeah.
here he runs to his thing, he grabs the gun, he misses once, misses twice, and then smashes the back of the thing. And then he just kind of does again. I feel like this is one of those cinematic things where he flips the gun, turns his back to the explosion as it like all goes down. Then he just hops on his bike and go. He doesn't like wait to see the outcome of what he's just done. He just blasts it.
Jupiter looks back.
Yeah, he's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This guy's awesome. So yeah, and it just continues again, the pace of this book only chopped up. Okay, but I think that this is probably the most interesting Laurel page. She's in the bath. She's got her little, you know, these guys remind me of Poop and Pee, the assistants of Pope Innocent. You know, there's always like the leaders always kind of have these what are they called? These, you know, when they cut off their balls.
Eunuch bath.
Yeah, exactly.
Aids.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean this scene in the new Dune is pretty good. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So
I like the effect on the water here too. The way Bernie does that adds the white. Again, it's probably splatter on the back, right? They're still doing the blue line method. Really cool.
Yeah, maybe masking off the other areas he doesn't want to hit.
What's this word? These names like Pichest. Did you look at that?
I have no idea.
Did you look that up?
Couldn't tell you. Pitchist. Weird. So then she tries calling Crystal, and Crystal says, I'm too busy, and she hangs up on her. So they're playing this passive aggressive hang up game or whatever it is.
I like this too. I just looked up Pichest, and it looks like it's like a It's an Asian medicine. It's like a type of Thai massage. He's
Huh.
a famous master from Thailand. Ajahn
Oh,
Peaches
interesting.
is perhaps the best known living Thai massage guru.
I
Interesting.
really like the last panel on this page because it
Yes.
has one of these very rare humor beats. It
Right.
reminds me of like the end of a comic strip, like a Peanut strip or a Doonesbury
Or Lucy.
or yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah, like just
Wait, is that what her name is? She's the businesswoman lady with the lines. What's her
no,
name? She's always drinking
no,
coffee.
that's not her name.
Ooh, shoot.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Kathy. Yes, Kathy, not Lucy.
Yeah, it looks like a Kathy panel. And in a lot of ways, it sort of is a Kathy panel. And
She's always steaming.
I really love that the series has sort of found very effective ways to put these humor beats in and be direct about them. It takes a while to realize that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Because it's such a like grim and serious story.
True.
But I do enjoy it when it does.
I love it. Yeah, and this this shows their relationship, which we're going to see a little bit more too. That it's kind of heated and tete-a-tete, like
yeah,
they're blows, you know.
Very tense.
Yep. And so they thought Prime was going south, but I guess he's not on his way to New Orleans, or maybe he is, but on his way to New Orleans, he's going through New York City, this ravaged New York.
And that might be because of various radioactive badlands, or like where you
So
should or shouldn't go. Right, he's not going a straight line. There's a reason, I guess.
Right.
This New York City scene is one of my absolute favorites in Grendel.
I like how, I mean, you told me you read this like a few times over the course of like us working on this.
Four times in the last like 2 months. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. And so you're really soaking it in.
Yeah, it's so crazy. They get to the end of whichever bridge this is supposed to be, and they meet this terrifying guy. He's got spiked gauntlets and chains and nipples and we don't know because we turn the page and we're in Crystal's. We're with Crystal and Susan for a page, and then we'll get back to New York City.
Right. Our first full introduction to Susan Varigan, who is unnamed here and is just called like guard or something.
Yeah,
like
she's
that.
just she's her guard, but they have to find like a teenage girl guard.
Right.
I mean, that's in the Title IX in order for it to be appropriate. Like you have to, we can't give you like a 35-year-old whatever.
Right.
But her posing is so like petulant and classic cartooning. Like who else does this pose? Like Kitty Pryde or
any like
or maybe it's like a manga stock pose. Now with Susan, is the white skin, is that cosmetic, or what's going on with Susan's white skin?
I don't know. Is it ever really explained? Is she like an albino type of person? Is she
interesting. I ask only because when we see her in the spotlight down the road, she's got her full body tattoos.
Yeah. And
it gives you a great sense of like, I feel like there's lots and lots of Susan stories that haven't been told.
Right. And she grows and changes, like you said, gets full body tattoos on her face, arms. So the character grows and grows in depth.
And
I wonder if
she
they
gets
even planned on making
she gets established pretty well in this story, but she doesn't, but there's no backstory. There might be one or two beats of backstory, but it's a very simple arc for her. And it's almost like you're not, like, if you're reading it in real time, you wouldn't be expecting her to like get her own series. Like
her spin-off.
Be such a badass. Oh.
And then the scene ends just she's like, you want to play vid pong? And
yeah.
We're like, I guess.
This is one of Bernie's best panels. One of the best panels of all time. I love the floor.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. And that's again a no like holding lines kind of.
Right, but also like just doing it freehand, letting it, not being so like flat and rigid.
All right, so on the next page, we were back to this guy, this guardian of pain, and you can clearly see.
I love the establishing shot. Look at this.
Right.
Finally, no holding lines.
Oh, again, and the
Looks
color
great.
of the ocean or whatever,
Yeah.
the river. Which river? The
Hudson. I don't know.
Hudson. Yeah, I guess that's the one. Yeah. And
it's not totally clear where they are, but it's true. I don't know.
And this is some of the first, Grendel body tattoos we're seeing. This is like body modification, all this crazy stuff.
This guy's like a cleric. He's like a holy man unto Grendel in New York City. It's really incredible. And they talk about, he's talking about, is he talking about hunters, talking about Orion? Is he talking about the spirit of Grendel? They live for pain, vivat Grendel.
The service of the Great One. Show us your pain, warrior, if you wish to proceed. Now, this upcoming panel, I thought was a bit played for humor as well. It made me think of like Homer Simpson falling down the ravine and like bashing his. We're turning the page now. He's just kind of like throws himself off the bridge. He hits the rocks a bunch of times, falls into this acidic river.
It does have a touch of deadpan to it, the way he just walks off and flips himself over the thing. Yeah, so and they say acceptable. This is in all red, acceptable.
Yeah. Oh my God. And he just says Vivat Grendel and plows forward. Because, I mean, it's not like this guy is like in some sort of other visage. He's clearly a Grendel as well. So they're not completely like, who the hell are you? What the hell are you? They're like, I can clearly see you're Grendel.
I like his necklace made out of fingers.
Yes.
This guy really reminds me of this scene reminds me of characters from Devil May Care.
Devil May Care, yeah.
Or Devil May Cry. Yeah.
That's the road bike one.
The road bike, the Indianapolis one. Yeah.
That's gonna be fun when we get to that. I feel like we reference that and talk about that one a lot. And I haven't read it since the first time. And,
it's so good.
It's really good.
It's like just on its own. Like it can just be read completely on its own.
Right.
And it's so good.
It would make a great movie. It's got everything, like perfect 3-act structure, perfect troubled love story. Anyway, we'll get there.
So this guardian, they're guarding the pit. If you want to go through the pit, which is like this radioactive zone in New York City,
right?
It's horrible. You got to go through him. So anyway, they let them go, and what happens on the panel 3 of page 14? He slams his head into the front of his bike.
Yeah, I kind of was like maybe he was going super fast. He turned the corner and he immediately slams on the brakes. He wasn't ready for it. He smashes himself in there. Yeah, it's a bit unclear.
He's hurt. He's in pain from the ordeal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's I'm okay. So then he gives him this thing.
He's like,
and Orion, here's some Bernieisms on those eyeballs. That looks pretty Bernie.
Yeah, for sure. And like around the nose, the little slashes, and then we cut right back to Heath and Laurel, where they're in heated conversation again. Still no sign, not yet. Blah blah blah. Get me him.
So the important part is that they went through some of Orion's like heavily guarded journals.
Yeah.
And they found Project Athena, which is where the paladin comes from. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, sprung from Zeus's side without a birthing partner.
Yeah. And we get to see this great giant Laurel Assante statue, which is very similar to the figure that they put out with that line of.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I feel like the statue is in the last page of the last series. So anyway, that's a big deal. Like the fact that I think that Laurel takes this to mean that Orion really never trusted her.
Right, because he kept all these journals.
And like the paladin has acted. What we learned is that the paladin acts as the living will of Orion.
Right.
Probably to the point where there's parts of Orion that are in the paladin.
I would agree. Programming and directives and all this stuff. I mean, if he has like a hard drive in there and it's that much in the future, I don't see why they wouldn't have, time machined his entire brain and backed it up in the in the
You know, what make a good eight pager would be like a conversation in the Paladin's head between who he was and Orion and their
Oh, that'd be
voices
awesome.
kind of
We
going
see
back
we see like a smidgen of that in
in Odyssey.
Yeah.
It's just a touch. All right, cool. So yeah, then we go back and it's the green zombie people sequence.
Right.
This is so
and
cool.
again, this is just like gratuitous Grendel action, like just fun, exciting, good comics.
Yeah.
Fun to read, you know.
Yeah, gross fun monsters. If you want
Yeah.
that, this book has plenty of them. And this guy begs for death. His brain's on fire.
Please, my brain's on fire.
And so the Paladin puts him down and walks away.
Yeah, it just seems like he's like smack. He like smacks
like,
his head out of the way. and
Well, it's goddess. He's the avatar of the goddess of wisdom and war and Orion's will. So it was clearly the right thing to do. You don't need to be, like a try-hard edgelord like Venom, with your tongue hanging out, like drooling boogers on people before you eat their brains. Wants to die, let him die.
Just let him die. Cut his dang head off. Yeah, and slice him down. And
there's a lot of humor in this last panel, though.
yeah,
It's
as he's
very
just walking
funny.
away while he's like
with his lightsaber out.
Yeah. Okay, so he did lightsaber his head off. Yeah. And then on the next page, again, 18, the action continues as he's walking away. And it's like foggy and hazy, and he doesn't see that the cliff begins.
cliff,
And I guess he falls this whole way down, and then he falls like into a bed of more zombies. And these don't seem like completely brain dead zombies. They seem like a little bit.
I think they're meant to be like radioactive victims, right? Like people, if you go into the pit, that's where it's the most radioactive. Yeah, so people that can't, kick it in post-apocalyptic New York, just get tossed in the pit where they're left to do whatever. This has one of my favorite layouts because the way panel 4 has that vertical as he falls vertically.
Right.
I'm a simple man, and simple pleasures like that are the ones that make comics my favorite thing.
Awesome. And then on the next page, again, Jupiter, and now he's like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And you see him come up as he's fighting this horde of zombies, just lightsabering, lancing, cutting, slicing. Really fun. So
cool. Yeah, the lighting on him in panel 4 is really cool, but it's also panel 2 of Jupiter is really effective.
Right. And 3, again, they use that.
Yeah,
that
every panel.
splatter. Yeah. And panel 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the last one with all the paint splotches.
Yeah. It's like Bernie is sort of hiding out.
Yeah. And making himself known in these little
maybe that's Catherine Delaney. I don't know.
Never know.
Who's to say? Yeah.
All right. Flash back here to Heath and Laurel. Got their surveillance going.
And they literally just say they're in New York.
They're in New York. We get them.
So
they'll never get out of the pit alive.
Were we talking offline about the Heath and Laurel stuff? There is a reason for all this happening. It's hard to see if you don't have hindsight. I guess we shouldn't spoil it, but
I think it provides this like chase, this cutting back and forth from the action that gives it like a pacing of like, these people are in one place, they're looking for these people while the other group is like going around. So it's like,
but every time that Laurel is engaged with Crystal, it's way more interesting. That's because with Heath, they just sort of tell you what you just saw.
Right.
She gets the scoop after you do. Yeah. So it's the next beats of the chase kind of get delivered. Okay.
And that page ends with a smack of a dead body as we get this like downward kind of angle, almost downward fisheye of the Paladin as he clicks his lightsaber back in.
Yeah, it does have a fisheye distortion on it.
Yeah.
And again, you can see Bernie putting all these highlights, like the hard wrap of the
spots of white. Yeah. And
all
he's got to seal them in again as they go through the dankness.
Look at that windshield. That's what I like to see, Bernie.
That's cool.
That's so yeah, it's there's drones. This is like straight like James Cameron stuff, like Aliens
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The sentries.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
like
a
a
little
IGD
confused
or
about,
something.
yeah. 'Cause I get a little confused about who's shooting who and what and why on the next page, but it's a great sequence.
Yeah, on 22, he's averting the shots, and then I don't know what. Yeah, exactly. Like he gets
I think
closer, he firebombs some
this,
stuff.
yeah, the second drone shows up. The first drone gets its attention. The second drone puts the flamethrower on the first drone.
Mm.
Then a third drone comes in flying. It's got that more organic style. And I don't mind any of the minor confusion that I'm having. It's very exciting because it's all the coolest bit is on panels 1 and 2 on page 23, where you're put right behind this drone that's firing at him. It's so exciting. It's like literally out of an action movie. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, and it provides this chaos that, like, yes, there's these sentries, but perhaps they're controlled by different warring factions. Perhaps there's no control, there's no contact. They're just kind of doing whatever they can.
Yeah.
And the left hand is not speaking to the right hand, and then they just are like firing, and it's all chaos.
I think that one of the issues that you could point to is that the last time we heard anything about New York was like the Hell is for Children issue.
Okay.
Where they were in DC, and all we knew was that they'd come down from New York.
Right. And
just
that
it was
part of the bomb.
uninhabitable. That's all we know. So
yeah,
it's nice that this sort of pushes the ball a little bit further, that ball a little bit further down the road. Just like maybe not quite enough as much as I would want it to. But I can't have my green zombies meet them too.
Yeah.
Can't have everything.
So it seems like they're going like across New York. They cross one bridge, they cross New York through the pit, and now they're getting to another bridge on the other side, I guess. Yeah, the tunnel. Sorry, the tunnel. Yeah. And then they look up, and it's just like, or they look down in front of them. Sorry, they look in front of them. We're like overhead now, and we see it's just like bodies. It's just skeletons.
Yeah, it just goes to show that New York became a place of toxic death.
Yes.
There's not really there's where they worship Grendel. There's not really any other info that you get or that you need.
Exactly.
Okay, we're safe now. They get out. Okay, we're safe now.
Yep. The machines can't leave the island. We should be safe from here.
What do you think that meant? The machines can't leave the island. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe there's like a control net or something like that. And, once they're off the island, I don't know. They're only able to work within this local area network. And once they leave the land, I don't know.
The last tier is wonderful. The buildings in the back of penultimate is great.
Yeah.
And then Jupiter's look back in the final shot, where we really like Jupiter has, without saying a word across 50 pages, we've experienced things with him, and so he has grown in an interesting way.
Right. And in a way, he is like the audience perspective of just like, holy shit, like, oh my God, what is going on?
Isn't this fucking cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. And in the floppy, then after that, we have an afterworld, the world of Grendel, which gives us like some backstory about the different clans and, the class of distinction. And then a bunch of letters, of which the return of known letterhound Malcolm Bourne.
Oh, there you go.
And a bit about the new Indiana Jones comics coming out. Pretty great. And the Dr. Giggles ad, which we know from Interview with Diane.
Wow.
The Dark Horse's first film foray. And
I remember people talking about it.
The movie.
I remember being like 8, 9, 10 years old. People being like, like Dr. Giggles. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds scary.
Right. One of those movies that people talk about. It's on the fringes, and it's got, what's his name from Reanimator, right? It's got
Jeffrey
Combs.
Jeffrey Combs.
Toombs is the villain from Spider-Man. Adrian Toombs, the Vulture.
The Vulture. The Vulture.
But yes, I'm Jeffrey Combs.
Well,
From Star
Eli,
Trek Deep Space Nine.
it's been real. I'm podcasting on borrowed time.
All
My
right.
baby is due to wake up any moment now.
Perfect.
Vivat
Perfect
Grendel, my
timing.
friend.
Vivat Grendel, another great issue of action-packed adventure. Join us next week for more Prime. Same Prime channel, same time. Cool. Sweetums.